All right, guys, welcome back to the Overanalyzer podcast, where we do the podcast every time we find something worth talking about, so you know most of us care about it. On this episode, we're going to be talking about Euphoria, Season 1 and 2. We will be doing light spoilers in the beginning and then heavy spoilers at the end.
So, basically just spoilers for me. I haven't seen any of this show.
Yeah, but I think you might just end up forgetting.
That's 100% a possibility.
And honestly, what I'm hoping for, because I actually don't know if how much you would enjoy this show, because it can go either way.
Well, it's got sex and drugs, so I mean, you know.
When did the show come out? Like 2019?
Yeah, it came out in 2019.
So 2019, I don't think I heard about it until like late 2020 or some crap like that.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the trailer because I was curious, and that's before we had HBO. So a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, the trailer doesn't do the show justice." Kind of like
I never watched the trailer.
What is it called? Kind of like a, I don't know how you say it, but like a warning about what was to come later on with like the fans and stuff like that.
What do you mean, like a content warning?
Well, no, just for the. So what I'm.
Are you saying Euphoria fans are a bunch of like?
Oh yes, they are. But
hypers, a bunch of overhypers.
So some examples is that like there's like fan pages for the characters.
Yeah.
And there's like obviously more than one.
Well,
And then they're like posting. They're like, oh, Queen, yes. Or the moment between these two, and you can tell they're mostly girls, right? And I feel like that's why a
middle
lot
school girls.
And that's why I feel like a lot of guys probably don't like this show, is because they feel like it's more of a girl show.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't let that stop that for me. I know just when I started watching the show, it was kind of like I wasn't used to it. It's like when you never played sports and then you start running on. I was like, oh, I'm not used to running this much. It was kind of like that for like content wise.
Yeah. Honestly, if you don't engage with it online, you're all the better for it. If you don't engage with any Euphoria stuff on Instagram, if you just keep engaging with the same meme shit you send me, you're golden. But the moment you start like seeing like, oh, that's a Euphoria meme, that's funny, and you get sucked into like the toxicity of the fandom. Because I feel like for some fans, they can't differentiate. They can't tell the difference. I'm not gonna try to sound smart. They can't tell the difference between like a character and like obviously real life, but also the like a writer versus like how a character would naturally progress. They like latch onto a character, and when their character isn't being a good person or whatever, they're like, "What are they doing to my girl Cassie, Rue, or Kat, whatever?" And it's like, well, no, realistically, they would be this shitty or whatever. It's high school. They're, going through these things.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for you, Jose, is before hearing it from us or whatever, have you heard anything about Euphoria, or is this the first time you've heard about it?
I've heard a couple things here and there. People say like it's a good show, like it's interesting. I've heard it described as having a lot of like, a lot of sex in it, a lot of different drugs, a lot of different what is it? Like interesting interactions, I guess is what people would say.
Sure.
They like just try not to give away too much, right? People are trying not to give away too much of the show, but.
So I guess what I would say to that is the thing about Euphoria is I lost my train of thought.
Well, so let me just jump in real quick. I will say the pros of Euphoria and like the reasons to watch, I would say, are the cinematography. In terms of like TV show, like cinematography, Euphoria like pushes the boundaries and like really makes you think like, damn, this is a TV show. I'm not watching a fucking hour-long music video, because like the visuals and some of the set pieces they do are like crazy and stuff.
Yeah, for the most part, I think that's one of the main drawing points, especially within the first season. But I guess the question that many people have is like, oh, why is it worth watching? I feel like nowadays it's more like because of the memes and stuff like that. Like the memes are pretty funny. And there's also some good actors that are in it, especially the first season and then some of the people in the second. I would have to say the only people that I knew from Euphoria were probably the Jacob Elordi, Zendaya, and then Sydney Sweeney. I think most of the people, I didn't really know who they were. So I guess another aspect of that show is it introduces you to certain actors, or maybe it's like, oh, I know that one person from this. So
yeah,
it's kind of like a culture thing at this point.
Yeah, I will say I think the only people that were actors before the show are Zendaya, Jacob Elordi, and what's her name? Maud Apatow technically because she's been acting since she was a kid.
Oh
with
yeah,
her dad.
technically Maud Apatow, yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of like the cast and like a lot of them are like new time actors too, and it's pretty crazy like how good they are for like their first big thing too. Like there's this I'm gonna break them down into archetypes. There's a bunch of different characters. There's Rue, who is like basically kind of the main character, and she's the drug addict.
Okay.
And in the first and
Played by
Zendaya.
Oh, okay.
In the first and in each episode they all it takes you through a lot of their backstory. So I think the first episode is Zendaya's character Rue. The second one I think is Nate, who is played by Jacob Elordi. Third is Kat, who is played by Barbie Ferrer. But point is like in each of these episodes, especially in the first season,
They're making like the format of like introducing people that way within like the first 10 or 15 minutes.
yeah, basically, and giving you like context for them, like it, and you're like, oh, this is why they are the way that they are. So like Zendaya's character, she was literally born on 9/11.
Okay.
So she's like, yeah, I was born on kind of a weird, like, depressing day, and she suffers with like anxiety and I think that's it, right? Just anxiety.
She has like OCD or attention deficit.
There we go.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what it is.
Yeah, all that
That's
made
what-
up stuff that all these new gens are like complaining about.
And then I
or
guess
whatever.
later on in the first season, you find out she also has like depression, or was it? Or
Well, I
she's
mean,
bipolar.
anxiety
She's
and
bipolar.
depression go together.
Well,
though.
she's bipolar, so I think that's what the other thing was.
Yeah, but essentially, she has all these like
Some shit, I don't know.
all these mental health problems, and like you see her going through it, like she. Like whenever she's starting to have like a panic attack, she has to like count the ceiling tiles to like calm herself down. Then you see her parents pour her out of it, like, "Hey, Rue, are you okay?" And then she just fucking explodes, and they take her everywhere to see what's going on with her, and they try to help her and as best they can. And it seems like they're getting better, but then her dad gets sick, and because her dad's sick, he's got a bunch of like pills for the pain. And I think, and this isn't shown in like her actual like backstory, like in like the big old montage thing of it, but she's talking to like the drug dealer that everyone gets their drugs from, like this high school, about how when she like fell and broke her leg or something like that, they gave her Valium, and ever since then she's like, oh, I'm gonna chase this feeling, and became a drug addict after that.
Yeah.
But and she keeps denying that it was because of her dad dying, but it's kind of because of her dad dying. So her dad dies, and she goes further into drugs, and then the episode starts off with her getting out of the hospital or out of rehab.
Okay.
After an overdose.
But before we continue on with the first episode, let's just give a general rating for like the first and second, or let's just do for the first season. What would you say how good the first season was? What would you rate it?
It's really good. It's also really uncomfortable, but like in a good way.
Okay.
Because like some of the subject matter that they talk about, you're like, oh fuck, and then like they don't do the camera pan out and the door closes thing. You're there, and you're like,
oh, like Sons of Anarchy in some scenes.
I haven't seen it, but I'm gonna say probably yeah,
There's
because it's FX, so like they get away with some more crazy. Do they have like do they show
They
sexual
show
assault?
some of the sex. Yeah, they show sexual assault in
Okay,
Sons of
well then there you
Anarchy.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first season I think they show like a guy get sexually assaulted. I don't know if there was like actual penetration, but the point is the shit itself was kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And like there's like these smaller scenes where like these characters are having to calm themselves down after that. Like they're looking at themselves in the mirror. There's no music. It's just a camera on them just acting. And you're like, well, fuck, man. It's
Okay. Well, point is, I would rate it like probably like a 7 or an 8. But then after watching the second one, probably like a little bit higher than that.
oh how so? Just because like out of the
Well, watching the first season, I had like an opinion of like, oh, it's this good. But then after watching the second one, I was like, you know what? I think I like the first one a bit more.
okay.
But
It made you reassess.
so I'd say there's 10 episodes. Just quickly go over the archetypes and the type of characters you already kind of
Right. You're right. I got
Okay,
sidetracked on.
you already kind of went over Rue, so just give me a quick explanation of.
So there's
the
Nate,
Nate
who's the
character.
second episode. He's basically your typical like white jock dude.
Jock, yeah. Tall
And
dude, buff.
but there,
Doesn't look like he
I
should
don't
be in high school.
yeah, I don't want to give away the twist
Okay.
because especially like once you see it. But there is something that like happens to him at 11. It doesn't happen to him physically. It's something that he stumbles upon that just forever fucks him up mentally. And you're like, and when you watch it, like, yeah, if that happened to me, I don't know how I would continue on with life. Not like in a suicidal way, just in a I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Third episode, is Kat.
Kat. She's like a heavier set girl.
Yeah.
She's Hispanic.
Is she Hispanic? I wasn't sure.
The show, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like her character, I wasn't sure.
But yeah, she's
She's a heavier set girl.
That's her main characteristic throughout the show. I know
Her character arc is being a heavy girl.
But I mean, at the same time, she's also like a plus size model, so I think it kind of goes hand in hand. But basically, her arc in that season is her kind of like taking control of her life type of shit, like to make herself feel confident. Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
And then the fourth one, I don't know. What was the fourth one?
The fourth one, I want to say, that one was what's her name, Maddie. No, that one was Jules. Fourth is Jules. Jules is the trans girl that Rue like falls for, like in the first episode, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. The Sailor Moon bitch.
She has a big role in the whole like show, especially the first season.
Yeah.
Well, most of the first season, I'd say. The second season, she kind of.
So basically, she's the trans girl that's Rue's main love interest, and she plays a big part in the show.
And like major plot.
In a major plot point. So that's 4.
And 5, I want to say that one is that's Maddie. 5 is Maddie, who is Nate's girlfriend. But
she's Hispanic.
Yeah, she's Hispanic too.
She's like a shorter, like toxica. Like the joke toxica. That's kind of where that comes from, also for Euphoria. So she's that one. She's like the loud one. The don't give a fuck.
Listen
one.
Here, bitch.
Okay.
She's like, sorry, I didn't hear you, bitch, type of girl. And then, so that's Nate's girlfriend. She plays a big part of their relationship and kind of like the way they kind of give and take. Mm-hmm. And then McKay's, what's it called? Cassie's boyfriend. Yeah. I think he's the least important of that season / the show, because he plays like a side role, and then that's it.
Yeah, he's like the black football player that graduated already that year, but like it's his first year of college, but he's dating, I think, are they seniors at that point? Like Cassie?
I honestly don't know. It's not really suspicious.
He's dating Cassie, who's like still in high school.
It's like Degrassi. It doesn't really tell you what grade they are until the later seasons.
And like you kind of see like what he goes through too, and it's a different version of like the jock storyline from Nate, kind of. But it's somewhat similar, and also, like you said, it's not as like his.
I think it also plays on the fact that he's like the stereotypical black athlete that people expect him to like.
Oh yeah, be like the one that.
Be like the number one dog, go to college, like get drafted,
get the scholarship and shit. Yeah.
And then throughout his backstory, it's him being realistic and going like, "Well, I'm not gonna be able to do that." So he just kind of like enjoy his life and his relationship with Maddie. Cassie, yeah.
And then the 7th one, I want to say that one is Cassie, right?
Okay, so Cassie's like a
blonde girl.
The typical blonde girl, right?
Them things slinging.
And throughout her backstory for like the first 10-15 minutes, she's basically like the hoe kinda, but like
kind of.
So
she's the innocent hoe.
She's the innocent hoe. The reason I say that is because it shows that like, those boyfriends that are like, come on, like let me record you sucking my type thing, and she's done that often because she's like trusted her boyfriends
daddy
so
issues
much.
That's what it is. Daddy
issues. And like she sees like the videos online and
seeking
stuff.
male validation kind of shit.
Yeah. And there's like videos of her online and stuff. People have pictures of her naked because she like like Reggie says, she's the innocent hoe.
Yeah, well, like because I think in that whole backstory it's explaining that like that she has boyfriends, and when she loves hard, and then guys take advantage of that. So like, hey, let me film you suck, because she's a little uncomfortable, but for the sake of her partner, because she's thinking about her partner, like she does it. So there's like all that, and it goes into it like how yeah.
So, but basically, I think she's like very very stereotypical in the first season of just being like the girlfriend, and then like that innocent hoe and like the typical white girl type of thing.
Yeah.
And then I think her role kind of increases in the next season. So.
Yeah. With all that said,
is the show slated for a 3rd season?
Yeah.
As of right now,
2024.
In like 2 years.
Oh fuck. Okay.
So, is there any? There's at least one more person, no?
Not that I can think of.
See, it's Rue, Jules, Maddie, Cassie, Kat, Nate, McKay.
No, I think the 8th episode is the one like where they don't do like the origin story.
So let's say that's it, and it probably is.
I think so.
Point is, the first season people were like, "Oh, we want to see Gia," which is Rue's sister.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why. She's not really like, she doesn't really have a big role in the show anyway. I mean, that's not her fault, but it's also like, why would you want more if you don't see enough? And then other
yeah.
people, it's like Lexi, which is Rue's ex best friend, but like Cassie's sister. That's Cassie's sister.
Yeah, her childhood friend.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lexi and Cassie
And
are
then
sisters.
I feel like seeing pictures would probably help you more, but you're just kind of saying okay. But like me and Raji know, but
Yeah.
and then another one was Fesco, but
Who's their drug dealer?
who's the drug dealer, and
Okay.
people wanted to know more of.
You get it in the first
The first episode of the second
second
season.
season.
All right, so jumping in full spoilers, we're gonna talk fully in depth of.
Oh, hold on, real quick. I just want to sell Jose more on the show.
I mean,
I know he's gonna watch it regardless, but I want.
well, I mean, he's either gonna watch it, or he's gonna not watch it. But we're gonna do this.
right,
anyway.
but I just want to like do some non.
Okay,
talk
just
about some
do it really
Have you
non-spoiler
quickly,
guys
'cause we're
watched
taking-
the Uncharted movie, by the way?
No.
Nah, I'm
No?
not. No, I
Really?
don't
Why
give a
not?
shit. Why? I played the games.
It's pretty good.
The games are better. You play them. You do you do the shit.
I don't know. You know, sometimes you don't want to cinematically experience the game and actually be an active participant in it. Sometimes you just want to watch.
Okay, ask your question.
That's cool. No, I wasn't gonna ask him a question. I
Or
was just gonna
explain,
tell you
explain
basically
why you want to sell him on it.
But anyway, moving on to the
Euphoria thing.
to Euphoria.
It all these like archetypes sound very stereotypical, like you said, but the way they're handled, you're like, oh right, because it's not just like, you know, the shit that you've seen before in like teen TV and shit. It's also like a lot more darker and way more exaggerated and stylized.
Something I've also noticed is that there's like memes of going like, oh, Euphoria High School, like they're dressing slutty,
Yeah,
parties on a Tuesday. I was like, whoa,
coke in the bathrooms.
where the three of them going? I was like, oh, they're gonna run a train on her. It's like both of them. He's like, no, one's gonna watch. So what do you think?
Basically, like talking about
But
like
basically,
the
it's gotten
ridiculous
to, it's
nature
gotten
of
to the
show.
point
Yeah.
where people go like, oh, why didn't they just make it like in college?
Yeah, some
it's
people
'cause-
do say it though.
So my answer to that is that it's more shocking or more like, whoa, if you do it in high school. Because if it's in college, it fits there like, okay, it's okay if they do this.
Yeah,
But they want you to feel like it's not okay, and it's not like
exactly.
it's not realistic either, but it's more interesting.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why. Yeah, that's why it is in high school, because otherwise you just wouldn't care. You'd be like, oh, if it's a college, it's like, oh yeah, college. I remember I used to do that. But if it's in high school, you get worried. You're like, you're clutching your pearls, like, oh my god, kids are doing that these days. That's what everyone was saying when the
Yeah.
first season was coming out. They're like, is high school that crazy nowadays? And most people are like, nah, my shit's kind of boring. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the most
I-
important part that they kind of got right.
I don't
is
know. Growing
getting
up,
that.
I heard about things like that happening in high
Heard.
school.
yeah,
heard. But was I a part of some of those things? I mean, maybe drinking on a Tuesday night when somebody's parents weren't at their house,
Yeah, and even then it was just like three boys or whatever hanging out, be like, yo,
Yeah,
you guys
or-
want to watch some porn?
or like a bunch of guys getting together and smoking some weed.
Yeah.
You know? Or there would be shows like
Dude,
some people's backyard shows and crazy things would
Oh,
happen
yeah,
there
yeah.
for sure. But
you want to hear one of the like craziest stories I had heard, like from someone that was allegedly firsthand a part of it, like in high school, was this guy. He was telling me that he went to this party this one weekend, and this girl had sex with like 10 other guys like in one night, and even like a little kid or some shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
what the fuck?
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, she was like fucking passed out and shit. I'm like, that's not sex. That's fucking rape. That's rape,
Definitely
man.
rape.
So all that to say that, like, you know, there are many experiences. It could be boring, or damn near you could be in Euphoria High. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, number rating. I guess I would have to give it like the first season like a
you
7.
early rated it. Anyway,
No, I said good. I never said like a number. I want to say like 7.
okay, he said 7.
How's this show sound to you now, Jose?
I mean, it sounds interesting.
I-
It sounds like
It's
something I
not.
would
He
watch a
says
few
he says
episodes
it's
of.
interesting. He wants to watch it.
Yeah,
So
I would watch a few episodes of it to see, you know, how my personal opinion developed. You know.
Sure, yeah.
well, it's not
Yeah.
gonna matter now. All right, so jumping.
Yeah, I won't be. We're not gonna do another podcast where I get to give my opinion. But
I mean, the next
you know, but
podcast,
I'm
if you
still
want to
gonna
throw
form
it in,
it.
you can.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
throw a few quick. I'll be like, yeah, by the way, I did like Euphoria, or nah, that show's dumb because whatever, you know. I'll make up something.
You'll be like, yo, I quit after I saw that scene full of nothing but glizzies. Dude, it shows the dicks.
Oh,
Yeah, it
Well-
shows the boobies and all that shit too, but it shows the dicks. It's equal opportunity nudity.
yeah. Well, kind of like Game of Thrones is equal opportunity nudity.
Nah, that shows more boobs and stuff than like it shows dicks.
I mean, the dicks
caught-
it shows are really in your face. You know.
I remember 3 times it showed dick, and one of them was not so in your face. So it was kind of like, oh, the camera didn't like angle it out of the way fast enough. It was when Theon was like banging the redheaded like, you know, prostitute
Oh,
and
okay.
shit.
All right. Well, it is what it is. Okay. All right. I see what you're
All
saying.
right. Spoilers. I'm gonna try to tread a little lightly on like some major things just to keep it good for you, but we can talk more about like season 2 if you want, because season 2 obviously expands upon like the first season. Honestly, my favorite character is still Nate Jacobs, and I know that sounds like real toxic behavior because he's literally like, you watch him, you're like, oh, I hate this guy.
Yeah, I think something to the point of what you mentioned is it like that part where you beat up that one dude in the first season. You were like,
Yeah.
oh, I love it, this and that, and I was like, all right. But then, like watching the first season, I'm like, bro, this dude needs to get like stabbed or something. Like with what he's doing, I'm like, this dude needs to get stabbed ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the second season, he's kind of just like a bystander. He isn't as bad, maybe due to the writing. So I'm just like, oh, it's like it is what it is. He's not as bad this season. They kind of like shifted the focus on other people. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's still a major part, but like his toxical behavior isn't as like prevalent as in the first season, bro. In the first season, he is a fucking piece of work. Let's see.
So I think in the first season, the people that were hated the most, I would say, were Nate and Jules.
Jules was hated in the first season?
Yeah, I think the reason that most people hated Jules is because, like, oh, you're the reason that Rue relapsed type shit. And I get that.
Oh, because she left her, right?
Yeah, and I get that. So then they kind of, like, shifted it in the second season to, like, Rue and Cassie.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, Rue's, like, she's full relapsed, being a bitch,
Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck.
And then Cassie, she did what she's done, which is, mad fucked up. So what I will say about the first season is I liked it. I liked the vibe of it, the music, like the colors. It just felt like very engaging and like it felt like like uppity and it felt like
it had great energy.
It felt like a TikTok. just the way it's got you engaged. I don't know.
Jose's like, I don't know if I want to watch the show anymore.
It's like TikTok. I don't. Yeah.
Whereas the second season, it's shot on film or like that film aspect. It's all artsy, and I'm just like, bro, this is not what I like agreed to watch. Like,
yeah,
that's what I'll admit the major focus changes to. So the first season is more like like trying to get your attention in your face. Putting these things out here. Oh, you've never seen this much dick? Here you go. You've never seen what's a good example?
You ever heard a girl fucking orgasm just because she's on Molly and riding a fucking horse carousel? Where you're fucking about to.
It's like you've never seen a transgender. Here you go.
You think that's a girl? She has a dick.
Shit.
You want to see a typical drug dealer? Here you go.
A what?
12-year-old drug dealer?
Yeah,
A 12-year-old drug dealer?
Yeah, there's a 12-year-old kid. His name is Ashtray. And he's like a drug dealer. And he's got like face tats and shit. And
What the fuck?
Yeah, you're like, what the? It's in the first episode too.
Where does this take place?
So that's the thing. I have a theory because
it's called Eastland High. But
yes,
I think it's filmed in L.A., but it's like,
is that where
it's supposed to stand in for anywhere in the U.S.
Okay.
But my main problem with that is that they have a winter formal episode, and in most places in the U.S., there's snow during winter. There's no snow there. It like the roads are wet and everything. Whatever you could say, maybe
it rained.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that.
So
like,
I mean, it could take place like in Los Angeles.
No, here's
San
another thing
Diego,
is when
New Mexico.
When Jules leaves, she says like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the city." So that can mean a number of things, but it also means like, what are some big cities?
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, is this like the East Coast? Are they like up north? I would pick 3 places that you think it would be in. Like obviously, you feel like you know where it would be in is L.A., right?
Well, I would say
pick
more
3
SoCal. I could honestly see it like somewhere like in Riverside or fucking Chino or whatever. Chino even I think would be a
because
great
if you're
place.
in Chino and you go, I'm gonna go into the city, you mean like L.A.
Exactly, because they say that there's an episode where they go into the city, but like, and then there's a train station that goes into the city, and I'm like, oh, well, there's technically the Amtrak, I guess, that goes in LA or whatever that is.
No one uses
But
that.
Metro or whatever.
Otherwise, LA would be so much less
I feel
congested.
I feel like another thing is I don't think they have. Oh fuck! I don't think they have actual beaches like in the show, but in the what's it called?
In the holiday special?
The holiday specials where it's like just them talking. It talks about like a beach, and I'm like, maybe it's like on the coast, but I honestly think California or SoCal would be like the more realistic place as to where all this stuff takes place. But like they're saying, because like Eastland High sounds like it would be somewhere in California rather than like Eastland High in Chicago, because I feel like most of the names of high school are like people names, right?
Yeah,
like
John Polk Williams
Frank
High School.
Roosevelt High is what they would call like a school on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like Southern California area, obviously, because that's where they shoot.
Yeah.
Because I think they shoot a lot of their inside scenes in like the Sony lot.
Oh, do they? I don't know. Some of those
Wait,
sets are like
what's
too
the
big.
high school like? Is it an outdoor high school?
It's an
Or
indoor.
is it an indoor high
It's a
school?
mix.
It's a mix, but there's
Okay.
lockers inside.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Because some bitches be showing up with like nothing but like a little like cocktail purse and like a fucking nightclub dress to school, and you're like, the fuck? Do you, no pants or nothing? Do you even go to the school?
Yeah, because lockers. I mean, we've been living here in California for a long time, and they took out lockers a long time ago here. I mean, some schools still have them, but most places you just get like a gym locker assigned to you for like a day.
Honestly, biggest disappointment of like high school and middle school. I thought I was gonna get a locker, and I'd seen it like in TV shows and shit. I'm
Yep.
like, hell yeah! And then it's like, you have a gym locker. I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah.
I feel like the main color that you see in the first season, in the second season it'd be more of that orange tint, like film color.
That warm orange color.
But in the first season, it's like purple,
blue and red,
light cayenne or something like that, pink, stuff like that, which some people refer to. What's it called? Bisexual lighting.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because it's a mix between red and, I mean between pink and blue.
But yeah, that's basically the vibe of the first season. So imagine it like a
what
club.
what
or
color?
something.
Cayenne?
Like
I forgot.
light blue, something like that, but lighter.
No, like the bisexual color is like kind of like a light purple.
It's a mix of
really?
the colors.
Yeah, because it's like a mix between like blue and pink, which are like the boy and girl colors.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Fucking, you just like the purple for the vibes, and people are like, oh, you like dick and pussy?
So let's talk about the vibe. So we got the high school, and it looks like it's like a wealthy high school, like they got money type shit, like white people high school, not too ghetto though. I'd say it's like this is middle class, this is ghetto. They're like right here, and then here's like super rich or something.
I would
like
say
that.
it's like West Valley ish.
West Valley, but let's
'Cause
say
West
the
Valley's
the
not all that
design.
ghetto,
I'd say the
really,
design
right?
maybe, but it's like obviously got more stuff to it.
Oh, yeah, by the way,
Oh, and
guys,
their
West Valley
cafeteria's,
is
like,
the high
inside.
school in our town.
Huh?
No, just because I realized that maybe someone might stumble across this and they're from Russia, but they know English, and they're like, "Oh, bro, I love this podcast," and
I
they're
doubt
like,
that.
"What is West Valley High?"
Especially
I don't know
Russia
that.
right now. Maybe not even the Ukraine.
Well, no, Ukraine's fine. In Russia, they're just like, I have vodka. I don't know.
I can't pay for TV, so I watch podcasts.
Shit.
TV's
I still
too
have
expensive
internet.
right now.
Shit. I would pay their Patreon, but my Google Pay is down.
Wow, that's messed up.
Shit.
Anyway, so I think another main thing is that they hit you on all the sensories. Is that like visually you're seeing those colors, and it's like attractive colors because you're watching it.
Yeah.
And then the vibe is like the music. They got like licensed music, and then Labyrinth with his music, so it hits a vibe aspect. And then I would say like a majority of it's at night, but another vibe is how they hit you every episode with the intro, so then you learn a bit more about everybody.
Also, the lighting too is crazy because they have night shots, but they have like light just like piercing through like the trees and the foliage and like whatever. So it has like a real cool like noir like impressionist vibe. I was watching a video about it too, about how like technically it does have like that noir vibe to it, like Euphoria, which is inspired by German impressionist movies like in pre-World War II.
Okay.
Which is like very like high contrast stuff.
Like you mentioned earlier, you said that like the camera angles is like, oh, that's why I love Euphoria, and that's what a lot of people said in the first season, right?
Yeah.
So in the first season, it's like camera angles like spinning and stuff like to attract you and kind of like show off.
Yeah, they
Obviously, it
recreate
takes planning,
Inception in
but
the
it's
first
like-
episode.
Huh?
They recreate that one Inception scene in the first episode.
Oh yeah, because
The spinning.
so
one?
Rue takes like drugs and okay. So the transitions are another thing that's good about the show.
Yeah.
Like Rue, she's like in her room and she like snorts a line of something and then it like flips upside down and then she's at a party and it's like night and stuff. She exits the room and then she's like walking on the walls and she's the only one that's like going upside down while everybody else is like shifting.
Yeah, dude. Some of the shit you're like, how the fuck did they do this shot? It's crazy.
But yeah, that's a lot of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And then something that I was talking to Raji about the second season is like it's like they ran out of budget because they wanted to get artsy. But then he's like, "Isn't artsy more expensive?" I was like, "Not this artsy." Looking at a Jolly Rancher,
Oh yeah. No, it feels like they didn't run out of budget. They had the same budget because it's like HBO's like, oh cool, you can have the same budget. We'll give you $1 million more. But everyone else came back like, all right, like all the actors came back and like, we want to renegotiate for more money because you guys have it. And they're like, well, hold on.
Yeah. They're like, oh shit.
So speaking of that, let's continue with that topic. I think what I was just gonna mention is, I can't remember, but let's go with that. Like him saying about the money. So I feel like the reason season 2 just didn't hit. You know what I felt when I watched season 2? I felt like I was watching Justice League, the Joss Whedon cut. I felt
Okay.
like something was missing. I didn't feel right. I wanted to be happy, but I felt
Both
like I
sucked.
couldn't truly be happy. So when I hear these things about like the backstage drama, I was talking to Raji and he was like, "Oh yeah, basically like the director's on a power trip." But then I was telling him, I was like, "Yeah, but I also heard that like the actors, they're getting cocky. They wanted this and that.
Yeah.
Like the thing with Barbie Ferreira,
Fiera, the actress that plays Kat,
yeah."
the plus size girl.
So basically, she was saying that she didn't like one of the storylines for her character in the second season, and she doesn't get as much screen time as she did in the second one than she did in the first one, because she was like one of the main points in the first one, and she definitely did feel like she got cut out. But I'm like, did they film it and cut it out per her request, or did they never just do it? And did they,
It was my understanding that because I think Sam Levinson, the creator of the show and the writer, he went up to he goes up to each actor and tells them like what's going to go on for the whole for their character for the season. And when he got to Kat and told her like her storyline, I think before, because this was like when he had like written it out, whatever. Because I think it's like a slightly collaborative thing where like he has final say, but he'll be like, "Hey, what do you think? This and that."
To be collaborative, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Have a nice work environment.
But she was like, "No, I am absolutely not doing the storyline," which I think was supposed to be like an eating disorder storyline, in which at the like she ends up having to go to rehab or something or whatever.
Because like Raji said that Sam Levinson, he's got like not a custom, but he's like he has experience or whatever with like not himself, I don't think so, but with like addiction. Or
No,
something
it
like
is
that.
himself.
It is himself, and that's what he puts onto the Rue character. I feel like
it's an extension of himself.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of these topics that like with these characters and what they go through, it's not like for shock value. Like there is shock value,
Yeah.
but I feel like they do it as like, not let's have this conversation, but like, hey, this happens because not everybody goes through it. Like with Rue and her drug addiction, with Nate and sick individuals.
Yeah.
Okay. People drinking, doing drugs in high school, being crazy.
Fucking.
Obviously it's exaggerated, but like, oh, that stuff does happen,
Yeah.
So going off of what Raji was saying, how would you feel as a director or like a creator? Because there's videos of going like, oh, why I hate the director Sam Levinson. It's like, okay, but why are you still watching if you hate him?
It's stan culture is a thing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: you're a director. You did a first season or a first movie that popped off. People loved it, and you're doing the second one, and you bring people back, and they're like, no, I want more. I want more say. What do you do? Like this isn't gonna happen. You're not gonna get canceled. Just tell me what you personally.
Bro
would
was
do.
just spacing
you
out this
tell
whole
him to
time.
go to hell, dude.
So right, like what you were saying is that like you feel like there's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
If you say, oh yeah, this and that, then they control you. Or it's kind of like sequels where people kind of like, or shows that directors doesn't really matter because like they know their character.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand to a point that they want to represent themselves, but I think Barbie Fear or whatever, her the way her last name is pronounced, she hasn't really acted in that much stuff, and Euphoria is like the first notable thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she was just trying to cash grab and go like, oh, I'm going to hold on to it and then represent herself positively.
Yeah.
Or,
I think I watch a lot of stuff on TikTok, and one of them is a creator called Fluently Forward. She talks about celebrity blind items, which are like basically rumors and hearsay, but if you pay attention to like what you've heard and then like what comes out later on, you're like, oh, some of this shit is like pretty on. Like the like report, like the whole like open secret about Harvey Weinstein being like who he was through those blind items and like this and that. Okay. But point is that she talks some about Euphoria and specifically about Barbie and like the whole thing with the creator of the show, and basically that she feels really protective about her character in the show because she feels like it's like a reflection of her, and she doesn't want to promote like obesity
something negative, whereas in the first season it was technically positive.
Kind of, but more. Well, she is very invested in like empowerment storyline, like as a heavier girl being like, we can be confident.
Yeah, because her storyline in the first one was like more empowering, like he's saying.
Yeah. And to my understanding, she didn't want to do this one because it's like a cliche storyline of like, oh, eating disorders and this and that, and she didn't want it to be.
She's like Degrassi done did it,
Exactly. My opinion here is that I think it would have been interesting with Sam Levinson at the helm because he's taken these topics that have been pretty cliche, but like not even giving him a new spin to them, but like tackled them with like nuance and like, oh, shit just kind of sucks sometimes, and there's no right or wrong answer here. I mean, there's wrong answers, but there's no resoundingly right answer. So that's unfortunate. But what's really funny though is that I'm gonna have to spoil something from season 1. Is she starts cam girling basically?
Yeah, she
Oh, I knew about that part.
Yeah, she's in high school.
and she's a cam girl.
So
And she's
like
got
by
cash
extension, it's
tapes.
like, are you saying like are you in some way kind of okaying / endorsing being a cam girl and being underage?
Yeah.
Because like if so, then like that's disconcerting. But if not, then it's like, well, then that logic would apply to the storyline of eating disorders. You're not promoting eating disorders. You're not promoting this and that. Everyone's lived experience is different. But for the people that do have the eating disorders and suffer with that, the show could have been a cool way to like explore that topic, because it explores topics like that in a pretty cool way.
So I get where she's coming from. I'm like, that's fine. I understand. But I feel like it's a tad bit unprofessional to go like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
100%.
Like, I can 100% understand, oh, I don't want to do nudity. If you've done it before, it's like, oh, you've already done it. Why don't you do it now? I understand if you don't want to do it now.
Yeah.
But in this sense, she's telling him like, oh, I don't want to act because I don't like the way you're doing it. And, in most cases in Hollywood, they're like, all right, find me somebody else,
Yeah.
But he's kind of being generous and be like, all right, I got other actors, I'm not really desperate to replace you. So
Yeah.
they kind of cut her role down a bit, like a lot bit. Like if you were to switch her performance in the second season and the first season, you would be like, oh, Kat, who, she was like Lexi in the first season.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like short-sighted, like her decision to like firmly put her foot down like this, because she might just get blacklisted and not be able to work outside of Euphoria again if they even choose to have her have a storyline in the next season. Because that kind of stuff travels up the ladder. Like, if there's any actor that's being this and that and they don't bring in like the money and like the views because it can't justify, because like no one like, if an actor is a diva or like a pain to be on set, that does not matter as long as it translates to the return on investment for their part in whatever project they are, be it a movie or TV show.
Like Brando, he didn't want to do a lot of stuff, but he was always like a big pull, those top build people.
Yeah.
But that's her like her first major show, and it's a show, and she's not even the main character.
Yeah.
And she's doing this, so it's not really helping her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then if someone says, because that's the thing is like Hollywood people, they know, right? Like they have their perspective on it. So when they hear this drama of like her fighting with the director and like specifically her, right, they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, we're not going to consider her. Like 3 of the Euphoria girls auditioned to play what's it called, not Marilyn Monroe, Madonna, in like a new upcoming biopic, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Barbie's not going to get it. Not because she's not qualified, but because of the shit about her clashing with the director.
Yeah. So you guys want to do some questions?
One quick thing I just want to throw out there though, real quick, is I will say in her defense, it is kind of difficult to keep saying yes to because like when as an actor, if you get like a movie script and there's something you don't like about it, you can just be like, okay, well I'm just not gonna do it because that's the movie script, that it is what it is. But when you sign on to a TV show, you don't know what's gonna happen in the future, so there is gonna be like that kind of resistance. But yeah, that's my bit. What were you saying?
Okay, so we have this question.
Our user submitted questions. Thank you guys all for your questions. We really appreciate that, and we know who our true friends are. Thank you so much.
We have this user submitted question by Chase. His question is, do you feel like they show too much nudity in Euphoria, guy and girl?
Nah, let them things thing. Sorry.
So you haven't seen the show yet,
I
Jose.
haven't.
And somebody asking this question, what is your thought on someone showing too much nudity? Raji at one point said that it's not like Game of Thrones. So what does that concern you with?
So, in the first
Hey, have the mic at your face, man.
In the first episode, how many times were you able to see full frontal nudity?
Okay. In the first episode, there actually isn't all that much. There's a little bit of booby, but that's about it. Damn, also took a major ass fart. It's the second episode that's the issue, because in dealing with Nate's backstory, there's an aspect of it where he says that the locker room is always like a place where like he doesn't like because of like the comfort dudes have just like letting their fucking glizzies hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole scene where dudes are all full frontal naked, like flinging their dicks around. Dude, you see all shapes and sizes of dick there. You're like, oh, like you feel real good about yourself for a second, then you feel real bad, then you feel real good. It's like a roller coaster. But then you're like, why am I looking at dicks? Dude, I was watching that second episode at lunch, like at work, and I'm like, there was no one around me, but I was just like, I can't watch the show on my
Yeah.
breaks at work. Fucking
Yeah, no.
I think
awkward ass
another
show to watch.
aspect of that is that when I first started watching the show, I feel like I couldn't watch it around Christina because I was like, man, like I can't be caught watching this. You know, it's like when you're
Like
watching something
sus.
and your parents are like, hey, what are you watching? Or when you walk on and your parents.
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that I watched it one time through and then when we watched it together and I watched it the second time through, I had no problem with it because I was like used to it.
You're desensitized.
I was desensitized to it, or I knew what was coming up, whereas I could probably tell that she was like a bit uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
if you're watching it by yourself, and let's say you lived with people at home, you probably could not watch it on the main living room TV. You'd have to watch it like on your laptop in your bed or something.
Oh yeah, if you have roommates, you can't be watching that shit. Just
Yeah.
full blast in the living room. They'll walk in and be like, "What are you watching?" It's like, "Oh, it's Euphoria." What's
And
it
then
about?
somebody's getting
high school
pounded
kids,
right now.
and you're like, you're watching a high school kid get their fucking guts rearranged, and you're like, listen, it's not like that. It's not like that. There's a story. Oh yeah, I bet there's a story.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha.
So wear headphones when you watch it.
And like Raji was saying about their glizzies, that they're fake glizzies.
Oh, not. I don't think in that scene, but for after that scene, I think they are.
After that scene, and it's kind of like what they were saying. Cal Jacobs is Nate Jacobs' dad, the jock dude.
Yeah, real quick, just be careful how you proceed, because I feel like the way that first episode ends, he should experience that.
Okay, let me explain this. It's not really something like that, but there was a scene in the second season where he's got schlong out, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he's like peeing on the floor at home, and then wakes up his kids and his wife and stuff like that. And that's fake. And people thought it was real. And,
oh yeah,
and
he
then
didn't actually have his meat
I feel
out.
like something they took away from that when guys showing you, he's like, hey, you do you, bro. It's like it's all equal rights here. Then they found out it's fake. It's like, man, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I think Raji was saying that the actor was like, hey, I'll show full glizzy right now.
Yeah.
And then they were like, nah, that's fine. We already got the prosthetic. We don't want to pay you more because like they pay more for nudity, you know.
Oh, okay.
So they're just like, nah, bro, we just gonna do the fake glizzy.
Yeah. That scene was fucking great though.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more user submitted questions?
Okay, I think we got one more. One of the questions was who was the third brother?
Oh, right, because you do see that like Nate has two other brothers, but you only see the one brother that's older than him.
What I was told is that one older brother was the oldest and that he was the youngest in that picture. So there's like a middle child. Because I know some people were like, oh, maybe that's Ashtray. But I was thinking about it logically. I was like, I don't think that family would leave their kids as payment for drugs.
Yeah, no, they
So
wouldn't.
that theory is kind of shot through. I don't like when people use that word
Dude,
theory.
fan theories are the fucking worst.
I don't like when
sometimes.
people I got a theory. Oh my god, I got a theory. I'm gonna get hit for that.
Hear me
Anyway.
out. I have a theory. So in this scene, and like they fucking break it down with like the green screen effect on TikTok, and you're like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
It's that's very common. Stuff like that makes me not want to watch the show sometimes. But
Yeah.
I'm like, no, bro, you gotta power through it. But yeah, I don't know who the other brother would be. I don't know if they plan on putting that into the show. I mean, I feel like that's one of those things where they plant the seeds, and it's like, oh, if we want to go back to this, we can. But I don't think it's something very important.
Yeah.
And something that I've noticed is, oh, you said that one actor's from what movie? Cal Jacobs.
Oh, from Valentine's Day.
Oh, and then you were saying is like,
He played a gay guy there too.
he played a gay guy.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper was his secret lover.
Oh yeah, that was fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what's something from Euphoria that you've seen, not in the show, but you know it's like one of those like shocking scenes? Like Raji just mentioned, the girl was a cam girl.
Honestly, nothing.
Okay,
Dude,
so
you're in
bring
for
one
a
up and
ride.
see what he thinks about it.
Shit, there's so many.
Just think of the characters: Rue, Jules.
Oh, not necessarily a shocking scene. It's more like just very uncomfortable scene, and the one that legitimately made me the most like the most uncomfortable aside from that first scene with Jules and the person that she meets up with in the hotel room is Cassie and like her backstory, and basically Cassie, I don't know if they actually put this in like the casting like call thing for like this character because it kind of plays a big part in like the show, but Cassie she developed early when she was young.
Okay.
And because of that, she got a lot of male attention when she was young. And you see throughout the whole show, like not throughout the whole show, but you see through the montage, all of her like male like relatives or like friends of the family or whatever, all the older dudes are like, "Oh, come here,
It's like
Missy, give me a hug."
it's like
Just
that common thing.
know.
They go like, "Oh,
Oh,
you've
no
grown
way.
up so big," or like
Yeah.
you've gotten so big.
And like they're like so like physical with her, like the way they touch her,
kinda
like, "Oh my god,
pervy.
you're so much older." And like it's like that you're like, "Oh." It's essentially where's my hug, but they actually go in for the hug.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit made me uncomfortable as hell. But shocking wise, honestly, nothing shocked me more than like the way the first episode ended, I think. Or no. It's in the second season in the 5th episode when, spoiler alert real quick, I'll say, Rue relapses. I mean, she relapses
Well, I
in the
mentioned
first,
that earlier, but
she relapses in the first couple episodes, I think, but then she tries to get clean. But
what
then
makes her stop in the first season?
Jules.
Oh, so
Because that's right, because she was with Fez and she was like trying to get like some drugs or whatever, but he was in the middle of like meeting with a drug dealer named Mouse, who's got like face tats and shit, and looks all mean as fuck.
So she takes fentanyl.
Yeah, because
then they take her to, I think, Jules' house, so then they could keep her there, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't take it willingly because she's there just by like she's there not knowing what's gonna happen. And he's like, and Fez's like, "Yo, you gotta get out of here, Rue." But then it's too late. He's like, "All right, you sit down on the couch and shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
And the drug dealer comes in. He's like, he's got
The
like
drug
his
dealer's
Glock and shit.
like tattoo face.
Literally what I just said. Yeah.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah.
He's like bald and stuff.
Yeah,
See that too?
scary looking motherfucker. You're like,
Yeah.
did they get this guy out of prison for this shit?
Yeah.
And essentially, like he's like doing the deal with them, but then like he turns over and says, "Hey, what about you, little sis? You ever tried fentanyl?"
And he's
And
being
she's
like,
like-
creepy too.
Yeah, and he's like, "Nah." He's like, "It feels so great." Then he grabs his knife and gets a little bit like, "Take a bump," or whatever. And she's like, "No, I don't want to." "Well, you don't trust me?" And you're just like uncomfortable the whole time. Then she takes it, and then like she charges Fez for like the
No.
fentanyl.
No. She takes it, and then he's like, "That'd be 150," and she's like, "I don't have it," because she's like kind of like passed out. She's like,
Yeah.
"I don't have it." He's like, "Then you're gonna have to pay some other way."
And
then
he
he's,
like runs his
grabbing
hand on her
yeah.
thigh and shit. Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, bro, I'll take care of it, Fesco."
Yeah, and then he's like, "Since you paying, it's 300 now." And he's like, "Shit, man, why are you doing this?"
Cause the guy's like trying to push fentanyl on him. But he's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll just stick to whatever I get." But then he's like pushing it on him because he's like, "I want to push out more fentanyl because they like lace it with other shit."
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's one of the more
more
uncomfortable things, and that's after Rue tries to get clean because Jules is like, "Oh, I'm not gonna deal with this if you keep doing this," and that's when she
Yeah,
gets
so that's
clean.
why she stays clean.
So she stays clean, and then throughout her staying clean, and then the end of the season, I feel like Jules kind of pushes her because Jules is going through something else too, right? And I feel like because of what Jules is going through, she gets a little reckless. She drinks a bit. She's kind of like, it's kind of like someone is at AA and they're drinking around them. They always go like, "Oh, is this okay?" And they go like, "Yeah," but obviously like they're thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like she kind of pushes Rue, and then something that happens at the end pushes her over, and she relapses.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But what I was gonna bring up though is when everyone finds out that she relapses is in episode 5, because from episodes 1 through 4 of the second season they get pretty artsy, and especially like 2 and 3. But then episode 5 there's nothing all that artsy about it, like that. Like it's 20 minutes before the title card comes on, and it's those 20 minutes that there's no music or anything either. It's just acting and like just the shit, and you're like uncomfortable because you're like, "Oh fuck, this is a drug dealer fucking dealing with her family," because like they flushed her drugs down the toilet and shit, and like her reacting like that. But
So explain to why she's reacting like that about her drugs
Yeah.
getting flushed down the toilet.
there's it's not just that it's her drugs being flushed down the toilet, it's a lot of drugs
Mm-hmm.
being flushed down the toilet worth a lot of money that wasn't all hers to take.
Right. Okay.
She was supposed to deal that out.
So
Gotcha. Okay.
So the
she's
reason
in
she-
the hole with a drug dealer.
So the reason she
No.
got there is because she relapsed, and then she's thinking, "How do I do drugs for free?"
Yeah.
So she thought of this idea of like getting like college kids or whatever, or high school kids
school
to
kids,
sell
yeah.
drugs for her, and then she would make the profit and stuff like that. And then her drug dealer's like, "Nah, I don't care. Like, no, I know how you are," and he's like telling her no, and then she's all mad.
He's
so
like,
she
"Fuck no."
So she goes to his dealer, and then tells her the idea, and she's like, "Okay, sounds good." And then I was like, "How are you trusting her? Like, she does drugs."
Yeah.
And-
She does say like the coldest shit at the end though. She's like, "And Rue, just know that if you don't come up with the money, I have no problem kidnapping you in the middle of the night and selling you to some real sketchy people. I always make
To make my money
back."
back, yeah.
Yeah, and she says it like that too, with like deadpanness. You're like, "Oh, that's scary."
Dang.
Yeah.
So I think my most favorite episodes of the second season would have to be the first episode, because it's kind of like bang bang bang.
Yeah.
And then the last two, if not last episode, or probably the second to last episode of the second season. Like I said, I like the first season more because I feel like it was kind of like what I was looking for, and I was like, oh yeah, the show's like cool with the camera angles, the music, the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, there was less vibe in the second season, and it was more like ambience.
Yeah.
Because it was like less music and stuff like that. They're like, oh, we need to save money. Cut out the license budget for music because these actors are hungry and they want more money.
Yeah.
Imagine.
One thing I want to, before we end this podcast, because I think we're already almost at our time. I have a theory, kind of, and I know nothing good ever happens after people say that shit, but in the interviews, because like after each episode there is a little like special features thing of behind the scenes,
Like the thing that they do for The Walking Dead, like after the episodes.
Yeah, like the
that.
the Talking Dead, like where they talk about it, and the creator says that like no, it was Zendaya that says that everything makes so much more sense at the end of the second season, and I think this is why, because throughout the whole first season and everything, it's so stylized. In the second season, it's the way it is because Rue is telling you this whole story. She's a narrator, but she's an unreliable narrator, because you see in one of the holiday specials, right? Because there was 2 hour-long specials put out in 2020 or 2021.
2020, I think, late 2020, or I don't know.
Yeah,
It was probably 2021.
I think it was 2021.
It was like the beginning of the year, I think.
Yeah, because Euphoria was supposed to start filming, but then like pandemic shut down production.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to come out in 2021 versus 2020. Versus 2022. And they did these like small like bottle episode kind of things, where it's like
Just
2
talking.
characters just talking to each other, because that's how you could do productions on COVID time. And in it, like Rue says one thing to the drug dealer, because these aren't narrated by each character, and what she says doesn't line up with what she said in the season before.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh, she's getting the order wrong and this and that, or she's saying this to like embellish or whatever. And my theory is that that's why it is the way that it is, because in the last 2 episodes of the second season, they're watching a play basically about the show, because one of the characters writing it, Lexi, who is Cassie's sister, she's the one that has always been kind of like in her sister's shadow, because her sister's the one that gets all the attention, because she's the one that developed
Has the
way
problems?
she did. Huh?
What?
No,
Developed early.
yes, that too, because of the problems, because of the
And
messiness.
she's like the younger sister by like a year, I think.
Yeah, and so basically her sister got all the attention and everything, and was daddy's girl and like her dad's favorite basically.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just been like kind of an observer. So she's like retelling the story, and what's it called? And then like Rue's there sitting watching the play, and there's like a scene between her and her friend Lexi talking about how like they both went through somewhat similar things like in their life. Like they both lost their dad, one to death and the other one to like drugs and stuff, and just because he just left and never came back.
Mm-hmm.
And how she's turned all that like pain and suffering from her life into like something beautiful, like a story to tell. And I think that's kind of what Rue is doing too, because like the way she's telling the story is like so embellished, and Rue and her nature too is just like very much like that too. And be like,
Okay.
So I think that's what it is. I think the reason it feels so exaggerated and stylized is because it's a teenage drug addict telling that story.
Yeah.
But that makes me wonder how they're gonna do season 3 then.
So what I will say is that I did like the play aspect. Like obviously there's the questions like no way a high school would let this play,
Yeah, that was some
happen.
Glee shit, dude.
And then also along with the sets, like they're obviously expensive sets, but it's for the sake for a TV show. So it looks really nice. Maybe like a 1% type school, they would do that, or like a very acting concentrated high school. Yeah, they would probably have stuff like that. But I like that concept of her like kind of retelling certain things, and then kind of like from her perspective, or like maybe they weren't telling the truth about like what really happened, or maybe what really happened from her eyes.
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted to play with a concept like that a while ago. It never kind of like fleshed out because I was like, what do I talk about? But it was to the point with her where she was like always adding stuff when she would talk with her sister, like adding to the play.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that was one of the main points was her sister, because she's lived with her whole life, and then kind of like, and then that I feel like when the play happened, it was also her a low point, so she kind of cracked, and then one thing happened after another.
I think you'll like the show. The more we talk about it, I think you'll like it, especially seeing your reactions.
So now, asking the question, what do I think will happen for a season 3? I don't know. After, like, let's say season 2 was like the first season, I would have been like, oh, sick, season 3. But now season 3, I'm like, well, what are they gonna do? Is it gonna be like season 1? Is it gonna be like season 2? Is it gonna be something completely different?
Are there going to be new people?
Are there gonna be new people? Because they kind of teased that. I feel like in a way with like, kind of like Maddie, because it seemed like she was leaving, but I don't know. And then is Barbie Fira gonna be back or?
Right.
Because I don't know. It's really. And then now they're saying that like Sydney Sweeney's like regrets like I understand that she regretted it because at first she was like, oh, I'll be a team player, you're paying me, and I know she regrets it now, which is fine. I get that.
Regrets what?
The nudity that she did, because I would say she's probably like the number one girl who got naked the most in Euphoria,
dude.
Especially after the second season.
Dude, there was a joke where like because she like notices that like the play is kind of about her and her friends, and that she's coming across a certain way too. And after her situationship leaves her right there, she kind of cracks and walks up on the stage like, wow, my sister Lexi, and like acting all toxic and like doing whatever, right? And she's on stage like just talking to the audience, and people are like, is this part of the play or is she just fucking shit up? But someone's just like, show us your boobs. And someone's like, yo, that wasn't an audience member. That was actually left in audio from the director giving her like a directorial note.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Show us your boobs.
What I also liked about the play was Ethan. Like, he really did a lot.
Dude.
I feel like he did a lot more than he did in the first season. I feel like they kind of like did him good because, he kind of like died out as Kat's boyfriend because Kat was kind of, sucking. But I like that one part when he's like taking the pictures, and like the pictures, it kind of reminds me of like a music video, but like the way that they're just kind of posing and introducing them.
Yeah.
So that was a vibe. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I guess we can probably end it there. Thank you guys for listening, whoever listened. And as always, we will give away 1 unit of alcohol at our discretion to whatever friend gives us the code word or code phrase. In this one, might I nominate the code phrase, show us your boobs.
Show us your boobs.
Show us your boobs. If any one of our friends says that to us, we will buy you 1 unit of alcohol at our discretion. We could buy you a whole keg. We could buy you a shot. You never know. So remember, tell us, show us your boobs, and we will buy you 1 alcohol. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the Overanalyzer. This has been Roger.
Jose.
Hasael.
And remember to like and subscribe and comment so we know that you guys listen to these. That'd be very nice. And we'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Wow, it just feels weird stopping to talk about that.